It's definitely not going to be 10 minutes.
No?
I'm just kidding.
Okay, so yeah, let's just start. Hi, welcome Fernanda, welcome to Prague. Nice
My
to see
pleasure, one of my favorite cities in the
Yeah.
whole world. I love it.
So you're on tour now, and how has it been so far? How many gigs have you done already?
Oof, I lost count because I don't have my laminate
Yeah.
on this tour. I usually have the laminate and I'm very, like organized with that. But whenever I don't have it, then I'm lost. So I'm
Okay.
kind of lost, but I could say,
Been 2 weeks or something? Or a
yeah,
week?
we've been here since the 24th. The tour started on the 28th, but how many shows? I think around 10 or a little bit more than 10. So this means we still have a long way to go because we have 39 on this show, on this tour. Is it 39? Yeah, 39 shows. So it's going to be a long run. We still have like 20 something shows. But yeah, that's what I love doing.
But on a tour like this, I mean, like, because you say it's a lot of time, and you as a band probably spend more time together on a tour like this than you would do back home, in general. Do you write something? I mean, or are you just show, rest, show?
Yeah, I think we're more into that kind of vibe because, our routine is so intense on tour. And also, I think all of us are kind of methodic when writing. And actually, there's not a lot of time for us to jam.
Yeah.
But overall, I think even if we did have time, I feel like I can definitely say for me that personally, I don't have the mental sharpness
To do
on
that,
tour to do that. I love creating. I always have a lot of ideas, but when it comes to actually writing the song and building the song, I think it demands a little bit more of like mental sharpness that the natural tiredness of a tour can't provide. But as for ideas, I think definitely all of us have ideas on the tour, and for me, it's really easy to record them because all my riffs are like mouth riffs.
I read that.
So when it comes to writing, lyrical themes, then I'm definitely more inspired on tour because this kind of the richness of touring and being in a completely different culture every day on tour. This is the kind of thing that inspires me.
How is it with the atmosphere? I mean, now you toured obviously South America, you toured the US, you went on this tour with Morbid Angel, and now you're here in Europe, and I mean, you've been here before as well. But is there a difference in the vibe and the atmosphere?
Oh yeah, there's. I think every city we play has a different vibe.
Okay.
I mean, we've done 4 shows in Poland. There's an overall vibe, but each city is a different world. Same thing in Germany, same thing everywhere. And I don't usually like to compare them because I think they're all special in a way.
In a different way,
Whatever is a con in this specific market, on the other one, that's a good thing. So it's hard to compare. But what I can say in a general way is that Latin Americans, I don't want to brag.
Yeah.
But we're the most passionate out there.
Yeah, but that's true.
But, yeah, I mean, Latin American has Latin Americans and Latin American metalheads. We do have a more passionate vibe, and I think there is an explanation for that. I'll get there soon. And Europe, I think overall the audience is more reserved to themselves. They're more observative, and I think this is really cool because I get very different feedback from the fans when I compare it to other places, which is as important to me. There's the US, which I think stands in between. There are places you play in the US that are going to be really close to the Latin American kind of passionate, crazy, wild vibe, and in some other places they will be more observative. So I think they stand really in between. The difference, for example, you can see on merch. Specific kinds of merch sell better in different markets. For example, in the US, they really like collectibles and memorabilia. So used strings, picks, signed photos, and all this stuff, they will sell way better in the US than in Europe. In Europe, usually people are all about the vinyls and the CDs and everything. So both are important. It just really changes here and there, and I love studying the markets and knowing what to do in each of them and trying to make everyone happy about
And how, but on that with the Latinos, as you said, like the Latin market, when you watch those, Iron Maiden live in Brazil or
Russian Rio. That DVD is insane.
I mean, it's insane, exactly. And why is this? You know, what is it about metal that makes you so mad? You know,
I think there's a couple of factors. One of them is that naturally, I think there's a cultural thing that us Latin Americans typically, I'm not going to say everyone's like that, but typically we are more intense, expressive, and you know, like warm and passionate. Not saying that the other places are not, but, we can definitely be like, when you go to South America, you see everyone will want to hug you and like, hey, you know, like it's a different kind of vibe. And I think that shows when we're watching bands. Second, and most importantly, I think it is the fact that here in Europe, in one summer, if you go to 5 different festivals, you might see your favorite band like at least 3 times.
Yeah, exactly.
You know, like in one summer. And it's easy also if you want to, there's a tour and you want to follow your band on tour, like you can definitely just take a train and go there and take a train back and
there's less supply, you mean?
I think when you have more access to bands all the times, I think, not that you get used to it, but I think, you know, like with us there in Latin America, we know that when a band comes, they'll take their time to come back. It's not going to be next year. They're going to take 2, 3 years, sometimes 5 years to go back. So whenever they're back, we're fucking crazy in our heads. We want to show that we missed them.
Oh, that's for sure. I mean, like living here in Prague, you know, I think we have seen Metallica 4 years in a row or something, you know, and we can just kind of take it for granted, or we can hop in a car and drive 2 hours to see them somewhere else.
And I think Metallica has been to Brazil 4 times or something. You know? So that is the difference. So whenever they go there, we get wild.
So the album came last year that you're kind of touring now, and how long will this kind of tour cycle be on this album? Well, let's simplify it. When is the next album coming?
We're gonna take our time. I have a very specific idea on what I want to do for the next album, concept-wise and everything. My mind's already working. That's the thing. I'm like. And for that, I'll need time. And also, thankfully enough, luckily enough, Shades of Sorrow has been very well received by, you know, like everyone. And so this means we have a lot of tours ahead.
A lot of people want to see you live with this stuff,
which is really cool. And also, we still have a lot of markets and countries to cover. So, and we want to make sure we visit all of them, as many as possible, with our new album. I think we'll be touring with this album for like 2 years or something like that. And less than 2 years since the last release, I can definitely guarantee that there's not going to be a new album. We're going to take more than that.
And this must be the fun part of it also, to be able to go travel the world and play your music live for an audience, you know, like.
To me, that is the most important thing. To me, that is the reason for everything. That's why I know pandemic hits us hard in so many different ways, but in the pandemic, I miss talking to fans by the merch booth. You know, like I need this kind of energy. So the stage is the most important thing to me. To me, it's my pleasure. It's my healer. It's where I feel free. It's where I get the most creative. It's where I can express myself. So the stage to me, it's the reason for everything. You know, like there's most of the things till we get to the fun part, which is playing, I don't really like. I hate taking pictures. I hate recording video clips. I really don't like, you know, like all the process of like visual, like graphic design for the album. I fucking hate this part, man. Yeah. I'm all about, you know, like the expression in some other ways. What I really like to do is writing my lyrics. I really love doing that, and being on stage and touring, because like I'm always out. I'm never in the venue. I'm always like, you know, like walking around and exploring. So, but yeah, the stage is my favorite thing to do in the whole world.
Was there a plan B? I mean, was there ever like Fernanda the architect, or you know, or the Dr. Fernanda, you know, like what was the original plan? Or
there wasn't an original plan. I always knew I wanted to work with metal, because I've always been a metalhead since I was a kid, you know, like of course I had my Spice Girls hands and face.
We all have sins.
And they're not guilty sins for me, and they were part of my creation, you know. And but anyway, so I always knew I wanted to work with metal somehow. I always played in bands, but I never knew I would be doing what I do now. But my plan A actually was being a journalist.
Okay.
I studied journalism for 3 years, but I quit because I was some sort of rebel. My teacher said I was about to get to start writing my thesis, and my thesis was gonna be like how bluesmen used their music since the cotton fields and stuff through express, like
the
what they were going through. And my teacher said that I was in a communication college, like a communication course, which is journalism, and you cannot communicate anything through music. So she declined my idea for the thesis, and I was like, fuck it, I don't want to do it anymore.
And you left.
And then I left, I quit. Don't take me as an example, but
well,
I mean,
if it brings you to stage,
it brought me here.
Yeah,
so
exactly.
so I'm kind of proud I took that bold act. Before studying journalism, I was already doing stuff. Like I was a radio show host. I was interviewing bands all the time. I was taking pictures, doing live reviews, CD reviews. I've been a metal TV show host. So I was doing everything metal, like taking pictures and promo pictures and video clips for small bands, for underground bands. So I was really into metal. And I was like, yeah, I want to be a journalist, but I want to work for metal.
Into the music part, or into the metal part.
And even when I was with Nervosa, my previous band, I was still doing some stuff related to journalism for a long time. I needed to quit because Nervosa was taking a lot of my time, and I was doing most of the stuff, same way I do now in Crypta. So I had to pick my battles, But
I guess when you said fuck you to school and went into metal, there was at least one person that supported you, that was your father. I mean, he is the one that got you into metal.
Yeah, my dad, my mom also supported me on my decision, although she was very worried. It's a mom thing, I understand. So they were both supportive because I knew my arguments too. And also I was paying for my college and everything, so it's all right. But now talking about my dad, he's definitely responsible for building my metal character. He's a metalhead. He's more of a metalhead than I am, I think. I can still listen to Beyonce, which people hate. I do. And my dad was one of them on the beginning. He was like, are you sure about that? I was like, yeah. And now he doesn't really care. He just likes seeing me happy. And, but yeah, he's a metalhead, and he
got you onto this new wave of British heavy metal and power metal and stuff like that, right?
that built, again, that helped me build my character. I'm a metalhead, man.
Like
people see me talking about pop and stuff, but we could talk metal here for a long time, like because that's what I do since I was a kid. Like since I was a kid, my dad was listening to Angel Witch, like Axel Rudy Pell and Biohazard and Warlock and Iron Maiden and Suicidal Tendencies. So I was listening to this kind of thing since I was a kid, and I definitely started with the most melodic kind of thing. Like Kiss and Iron Maiden were my bases, but I used to listen to. Right after that, I started listening to a lot of power metal and like some symphonic metal, like Nightwish was my thing, and Halloween and all of these bands, and Angra from Brazil.
But what was because I read some interview with you where it felt like Sepultura was too rough when you heard them the first time, and you weren't really into that kind of thrash death metal. But was there any breakthrough band in that category?
On that side, I think Slayer was probably the first one that got me into that. And then when I got there, then I started listening to some other stuff. There were like some thrash band, like Nuclear Assault was the band that made me want to have a band professionally. And then I remember and then I found out about death metal. I was like, okay, let me try. And then a friend had made me like a mixtape, but it was a CD with like a best of that he made of death songs. And then I listened to that, and I couldn't really understand. It was still too complicated to me. But then another friend showed me Morbid Angel, and that was the band that made me get into death metal. I remember the songs Angel of Disease and Lion's Den. Is it Lion's Den? Anyways, so yeah, these two, but mainly Angel of Disease. And then I got into death metal. So it was a slow process. And then I came back to Sepultura, and I really understood it. Like Beneath the Remains instantly became one of my favorite albums, and still is to this day. Schizophrenia too. And yeah, it was a process. And now my dad likes more thrash metal and death metal because of me. He was teaching me, you know, like all the new wave of British heavy metal and power metal, and I was teaching him the death and thrash metal. Definitely.
But do you see yourself doing this for the next 30, 40 years?
Well, I think I definitely see it because that's what I love doing. Like I love the stage, but it will really depend on many factors, you know, like is my body gonna be able to do that? I'll never do something that my body won't allow me to just because I need to be there. You know, like same with my mental health. If touring ever gets too much for my mind and I have to, you know, like ran over some of my values and stuff like that just to be there on the road, I'm not doing that. Like me, my body, and my mental health, they need to be, they're number one. They need to be able to be doing this. But you know, like I take good care of myself. I try to treat myself really cool because I want to have.
Want it to last.
Yeah, exactly. That's why I'm doing my yoga, I'm doing my meditation and posting about this because that's what I know it's gonna help me have like a long career and fruitful and happy, you know, like I'm here for have fun, to have fun, sorry. If it's not fun anymore, I'm not doing this, but I want this to be fun and I'll make this be fun. I still plan to be the local witch eventually when I'm older.
Practicing on some specific witchcraft, like casting a spell or something, or?
I'm already a little witch, you know, like I do my tarot readings, I do my, I do my astrology, I do my crystal thing, I have this witchy side, and one day when I'm older and retired, that's going to be my thing. I'm going to be the local witch.
But talking about retirement, as I mentioned, then Sepultura are going on their last tour. They're actually coming here to Prague in October or November, my mom's birthday. So I won't be attending my mom's birthday. I will be going to see Sepultura. Like, I know you get this question a lot. I mean, but was this the band that kind of broke the glass somehow?
Yeah. And talking about Sepultura, that is one thing. We're talking about this retirement thing, and we all got surprised and shocked about Sepultura, you know, like retiring. I was shocked. And I know Andreas could be doing this for like 24, 20, 30 more years, I don't know. But he certainly has his reasons, you know, like, and that's what I'm talking about. Like, you don't need to push yourself to be touring till you're 80 just because, you know, there has to be a reason to move on, and there has to be a reason for you to
continue
not do this too if you want. And he probably has his, and I definitely respect him a lot for that, you know, for the decision he took and whatever were the reasons. I'll always respect that. And well, Sepultura, I have a tattoo right here. It's the band that showed me and most of Latin American metalheads that it is possible being Latin American and having, you know, like a rough growing and being from a country that's economically and socially very hard to live in and still thrive. They're the band that showed us, hey, it is possible being a Latin American, having a dream and going for it and living this dream. And this was always been very inspiring to me. Even when I was not into Sepultura, like, you know, like actually knowing and the band and the music, they were already, you know, like a huge inspiration to me, because I was like, okay, you know, like, if they can do it,
why can't we?
Maybe I can do that too. Exactly. And that's what I always had in mind. And the same with like so many women that I see they're playing like Girls' School and Doro Pash. I looked at them and I was like, if these girls are doing this, I can also do that. You know?
That's great. So yeah, thanks a lot, Fernanda, for the time spent.
I told you it was not going to be 10 minutes.
Yeah. And enjoy the show here tonight and to your next destination. And then I'm looking forward to watching you live.
Yeah. It's going to be awesome. Thank you so much for having me.